If you're still hitting refresh on your pivot tables every time your data changes, you're working too hard. I'm going to show you how I eliminated pivot tables from my workflow using one simple function. We're going to cover 4 practical examples ranging from beginner to advanced, plus a bonus trick at the end that'll change how you handle dates forever. Make sure to download the practice file in the description so you can follow along, and let's go ahead and dive in. Now that we're in Excel, we're going to go ahead and extract data from this data table using the GROUPBY function, and you're going to see how easy this is to use this function. All right, so in cell H4, I'm going to press equals GROUPBY, and then we get the prompt of selecting our row fields. In this case, we can select region, we can select product, we can select date, much like you would selecting descriptors for a pivot table. I'm gonna go ahead and select region. So I'm gonna go ahead and select everything right here. And then I'll press comma, and then we're gonna select the values that we wanna return. So in this instance, I'm gonna go ahead and select sales. Go ahead and select all of our sales right here. I'll go ahead and press comma. And this is where the magic of GROUPBY comes in. So we can select sum, we can select percentage of, average, medium, count, max. You have tons of options here that you can use. So I'll go ahead and press tab to select sum. And then I can go ahead and close my parentheses and press enter. And then you see very quickly we have the sum of all of our regions and their total sales, just like that. And where the GROUPBY function comes in handy and where it's super powerful, if I go ahead and change the price of our North mouse to $100, we see that the North totals automatically change. There's no refreshing with pivot tables or going back to make sure that our data is correct. This is dynamic and it easily changes along with our data. All right, that first example is super easy. Up next, we're gonna look at using the GROUPBY function with an additional function, the HSTACK function, to calculate multiple different parameters within our function. All right, so in cell H4, I'm gonna go ahead and press equals GROUPBY, press tab to lock it in, and then I'm gonna select our row fields, which in this case will be our product, because that's the data that we're gonna use. And then I'll press comma, and then I'll select our values as our sales. Go ahead and Control Shift down, press comma again. And then instead of using one of the provided functions here, sum, count, max, I'm gonna go ahead and use the HSTACK function. So I'll just go ahead and type that in, open up a parentheses, and then I'm gonna type in count, and then comma, and then I'm gonna type in sum, close those parentheses, close them again to complete the function for the GROUPBY. Go ahead and press enter. And excellent, look at that. We're able to combine multiple different functions within our dynamic array very quickly. And this is great because this eliminates the need for using pivot tables. We don't have to go in and add different parameters or go add in a calculation. We're able to just type it in, and Excel and the GROUPBY function in combination with the HSTACK does all the heavy lifting for us. But let's say I just want to go in here and change this, and I want to change it to max. We can go ahead and do that and press enter. And then we see that our max amounts change, and then we see the highest sales value for each one of our products. All right, so for our third example, we're gonna look at live filters within the GROUPBY function. So instead of using pesky slicers or any sort of filters, GROUPBY function has a filter built within it. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. All right, so in cell H4, I'm gonna go ahead and press equals GROUPBY, and then I'm gonna select our row fields. And for this example, let's go ahead and use our regions. We'll go ahead and select our regions right here, press comma, and then for values, let's go ahead and select sales. We'll press comma again. And then let's go ahead and use sum just to make it easy. We'll press comma. And then you see we have a whole bunch of different parameters here in brackets. We have filter headers, total depth, filter array, and field relationship. For this instance, we're gonna go ahead and use filter array. And let's go ahead and show you what that does. So if I press comma all the way to filter array, I'm gonna go ahead and select our status columns right here. And then I'm gonna put in our not equals to logic operator, and then in quotations, let's go ahead and type in refunded, in quotations, close the parentheses and press enter. And now you see we have totals here associated with each region. But let's go ahead and do a sum ifs function just to make sure that we're capturing everything correctly for each region. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna press equals sum ifs, and then our sum range will be our sales right here. And then our criteria, range 1 will be our region. And I'll press comma again. And then let's go ahead and check out the East region. So I'm gonna go ahead and select East right here, press comma. And then our second criteria range will be status, press comma. And then our criteria will be completed. So I'll go ahead and select that, close our parentheses and press enter. And then you see our totals for the East region tie out. This is just a quick little healthy check just to make sure everything's pulling correctly, but I just wanted to show with another function that we are pulling the correct totals. and we are excluding those refunded amounts. So in our fourth example, we're gonna go ahead and calculate how the group by function can use totals and subtotals and even include headers within our data very quickly without any sort of formatting. Let's go ahead and dive in. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna press equals group by in cell H4. We'll go ahead and select our row fields. I'll go ahead and select C and D, our region and our products. I'll press comma, go ahead and select our values, and then go ahead and select sum as our function. And then we can go ahead and select different field headers. So we have the option of no headers, yes but don't show, no but generate, and then yes and show. So let's go ahead and press 3 right there, and then press comma. And then we have an option of our total depth or different totals and subtotals that we can show. So as you can see, we have no totals, grand and subtotals, and then we can put the grand totals at the top or grand totals and subtotals at the top with putting a little negative inside in front of our 1 or 2. But I'm gonna go ahead and show grand totals and subtotals. So I'll press 2, and then I will close our parentheses and press enter. And then you can see our group by function grabs those subtotals by region. We see the east, the north, the south, and the west, but you might see in cell H4, we have a North laptop with a $1,200 value. That's incorrect. So if we go back into our function and press F2, we can see that we did not include our headers and from C and D. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and select our headers for region and product, and then we'll go ahead and do the same for sales, and then we'll go ahead and press enter. And now you see we have our region, our product, and our sales headers in place. And what's great about the group by function is you can go in here and also format these. So I'll go ahead and press Control B to bold them, and then go ahead and paint them blue and add white text. And then I'm actually gonna press Control X to go ahead and move it up to be level with our other table. And now you see we have a very easy dynamic dashboard that shows our subtotals by region and also our grand total as well. And of course, if you want to take the data one step further, we can go ahead and press Alt-HAN for our dollar signs and go ahead and select USD. And now we have a beautiful dashboard all set and ready to go for our manager. And in our bonus example, we're going to go ahead and combine our group by function once again with a different function. And we're going to create a ghost column in our group by function. So, all right, so in cell H4, I'm going to press equals group by. And then instead of selecting our row fields, I'm gonna go ahead and put in year function. And then I'm gonna go over to our dates right here, Control Shift down, select everything, close it in parentheses. I'm gonna press comma and select our values, which in this case will be our sales. And you might see where this is going, but let's go ahead and finish off our equation. Then I'm gonna go ahead and select sum, press tab to lock that in, and then go ahead and press parentheses to go ahead and close our function. And then I'm gonna press enter. And now we easily sorted by year. Whereas in a pivot table, you might have to go in and format it to show the year. This is as easy as putting in another function and we have our data immediately. All right, so if you found that helpful, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button down below and we'll go ahead and catch you in the next video.